Jaya Radha Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bodhivajrakacharya Ashtopadeshwara His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Think you had to give me the book, please? Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 25, the Characteristics of King Pranjana. We're on text 27. Ka ete nupatayeta ekadasha mahabdaha etava lalana subru koyam tehi parasaraha Ka ete nipatayeta ekadasha mahabadaha etava lalana subru koyam yehi parasaraha ka ete nipatayeta kadasha mahabadaha etava lalana subru koyam tehi parasaraha. Vaishnavis. Ke, who, ete, all these, anupataha, followers, ye, they who, te, your, ekadasha, 11, mahapataha, very powerful bodyguards, itaha, all of these, va, also, lalanaha, women, subru, O beautiful-eyed one, kaha, who, ayam, this, te, your, ahihi, the snake, puraha, in front, saraha, going. Translation. My dear lotus-eyed, who are those 11 strong bodyguards with you? And who are those 10 specific servants? Who are those women following the 10 servants? And who is the snake that is preceding you? Purport. The 10 strong servants of the mind are the 5 working senses and the 5 knowledge-gathering senses. All these 10 senses work under the aegis of the mind. The mind and the 10 senses combine to become 11 strong bodyguards. The hundreds of women under the jurisdiction of the senses are addressed here as lalanaha. The mind works under the intelligence, and under the mind are the 10 senses, and under the 10 senses are innumerable desires to be fulfilled. All these, however, depend on the vital life force, which is here represented by the snake. As long as the vital force is there, the mind works, and under the mind the senses work, and the senses give rise to so many material desires. Actually, the living entity known as Paranjana is embarrassed by so much paraphernalia. All this paraphernalia simply constitutes different sources of anxiety. But one who is surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and who leaves all business to Him is freed from such anxieties. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj advises a person who has taken to the materialistic way of life, which is never permanent but always temporary, to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. and leave aside all his so-called responsibilities in order to get freed from all anxieties. Om Jnanati Vedandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chukshulamadhitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kaditavachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yakripatamaham Bande Shri Gurunditaranam Bancha Kapadribishta Kripasanave Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Can I read the translation again? My dear lotus-eyed one, supposed to be there? Okay. Who are those 11 strong bodyguards with you? And who are those 10 specific servants? Who are those women following the 10 servants? And who is the snake that is preceding you? So Prabhupada says in the purport, the 10 strong servants of the mind are the 5 working senses and the 5 knowledge-gathering senses. So who could say what those 5 working senses are and the 5 knowledge-gathering senses? Yes. Yes. You have a microphone? Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Okay, 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, Gyanendriya, the eyes, the nose, the tongue, the touch, and the ear. Not the active senses, the hands, the legs, the voice, and the generating and evacuating organs.
Sure. All right. And as Dravida Prabhu likes to point out, I've heard in classes, he says that for a devotee, voice is we could say most important or very important. Yeah. And he says that how Prabhupada, he practically ran the whole, he did run the whole movement just with his voice, speaking. Prabhupada did a lot of speaking, Krishna Katha. Is this loud enough for everybody? No? So yeah, we're hearing in this particular allegory, metaphor, that King Pranjana, he's coming in contact with this woman in the forest, and eventually we see over how this account goes, how he is becoming more and more attracted to her, bewildered by her. And she's also become attracted to him and bewildered by him. And Prabhupada makes a point in this purport that the senses, as Pranjana, he's speaking about, although it's a metaphor, Narada Muni is speaking about Prachani Barhishat. So it's saying how the living entity becomes bewildered and confused and illusion in contact with the material energy, which specifically, when a soul takes a human body, whether the soul takes a man body or the soul takes a female body, generally speaking, there's attraction to opposite sex. Now, of course, in some cases there's attraction, there's homosexual attraction and all that too. But at least within this particular metaphor, it's a more traditional standpoint of the disease. And but as we see here, within this particular account, that eventually the momentum becomes so intense and so forceful that that he can't help himself. He's just overly addicted to this woman. She's addicted to him too. So the momentum in our lives that we're creating for ourselves, we're going a particular direction. It's very powerful. Whatever way we're going, it's very powerful. And therefore, it's difficult to stop and slow down if we want to change course, as it's been mentioned a few times recently, or a couple times recently. Example of, okay, you're going 70 miles an hour down a freeway, and you want to take a right. You can, but it's dangerous. It's difficult, practically. Yeah. So, but to slow down is also difficult. It's both difficult. So when the mode of ignorance takes control of a person, it's very difficult to get out. Or the mode of passion, or the mode of goodness, it's very difficult to get out. Of course, you say out of the three, the mode of goodness is the best, but still, that's not the goal. So, just like, for example, you have these, I've heard that you had these TV shows or YouTube shows or whatever, documentaries about people who just lose control over their desire to eat. And they become extremely obese, really, yeah. And they're not going to be satisfied with just 2 pieces of pizza and a cup of soda or something, or a can of soda. They have to have a few, I don't know how many, yeah. They have to have quite a few pizzas, whole pizzas, delivered to their house with 2-liter, two 2-liter sodas, and it's it's a disease. It's very painful and difficult, and similarly, like this, what is it? What's that? He's a Christian philosopher. C.S. Lewis. He's written about how similarly, people accept that, okay, that's a disease. That's not good. But he says, what if somebody, or specific? No, he gives the example that, okay, people accept that obesity is a disease, and it's not good. But he says similarly, within the realm of sexuality, people think, okay, well, we could just kind of run free, uncontrolled senses, unrestricted enjoyment. But that's also just as bad as obesity. It's the same disease, but people don't think of it like that usually. And he gave example, like in the realm of sexuality, okay, just let it run free. But then, if someone was to sit around all day and think about food and look at food and meditate on food all the day, like people do a lot of the times with sex, then people think, oh, this person, what's wrong with this person? But it's so common that people are doing in relation to that sexuality. So. So then you have, therefore, Srila Prabhupada would say, okay, following the Srimad Bhagavatam, following the Vedic literature, people should get married. Okay, so you could be a brahmachari too, or you could be a sannyasi, but if you can't do that, then you should get married. And you should have a controlled marriage, not jumping around to this partner, that partner, that partner, like cats and dogs, as he would say. It's just animal life. Illicit sex means animal life. And therefore, marriage, and therefore, for the purpose of procreation, which is also brings it up to another level, which, as far as within the religious world, it is uncommon. Even in the religious world. Krishna consciousness is quite different in that regard. But of course people may have a tough time with that too, but marriage should be there. That's the point, not just running around. Because it's something that needs to be controlled, just like eating. It has to be controlled. So similarly, in the realm of, I have some notes here, but sometimes I can't even read my own handwriting. So similarly within, like a Facebook junkie or a Instagram junkie, somebody who's like really addicted to it, really attached to it, can't live without it, right? If you tell that person, there's certain momentum going, just like if you tell the obese person, stop eating all those pizzas, it's very difficult. So similarly, you tell a social media junkie, give it up, very difficult. Practically not impossible, but it's possible, very difficult to stop. The momentum's going. Same with a thief. You tell a thief, oh, stop your activity. Also very difficult because that momentum. So on and on we could come up with so many examples. So similarly within our lives, we have to be careful to cultivate the right desires, which is based on the right association. Or else, if we end up going in the wrong direction, it's very hard to stop because the momentum's so strong. And generally within, like when you're riding a bike, I mean, you're riding a bike, and in many ways it's about developing that momentum. You get to a nice speed, and then you could keep on going, If you slow down, like you're going really fast, and you have to slow down because there's a light or there's a car or something, you have to slow, and you have to work your way up again. So the morning program, it's not just like some ritual that is like pointless. It actually gives us momentum to sustain ourselves throughout the day. And like chanting our rounds, for example, that's momentum, to keep on going in the right direction. But whatever the case is, if whatever stage of life we're in, it's advised that we practice this control, this regulation, in different ways. And someone may say, well, I'm sincere, but I can't really, it's too difficult, right? It's too difficult. Like someone would say, I'm married, and I know, at least they should know, because Prabhupada states it very, 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 very clearly, that the purpose of sex is for procreation. I'm married, and I know it's for procreation, but I'm weak, and I cannot control. Or someone may say, well, I know I made a vow to my spiritual master not to take intoxication, but I'm weak. I'm in a Rahu period, astrological Rahu period. Or, I'm having difficulty in my life, I need some solace, so therefore I'm going to go to a local dispensary and, pick up some marijuana and find some solace. Or whatever it is, I'm going to go to the casino and kind of turn off my mind and, press some buttons and hopefully win some money. Or whatever it may be. Someone may say that, well, I'm weak, I can't really. Well, then they should become strong. They should become strong. But at least if if a person wants to admit that they're weak, then they should try, they should endeavor, they should not give up. Just like there's that story of a thief. He's a thief, and in the nighttime, that's when the thieves come out, and they try to steal. Just leave your bike outside and see what happens. Right? Tomorrow night, leave your car unlocked. It's going to be gone really quick. So there's a thief, and somehow he had some devotional inclinations. But he was a thief. So what he did is he went on pilgrimage with a bunch of devotees to different holy places. And then they were all sleeping in one big room. And then this thief, he woke up in the middle of the night because that's his habit. Everybody's sleeping, he's up, stealing stuff. So he woke up, but he was with all these people who were devotees and who he liked, and he didn't want to steal their stuff. But that was the only stuff around. So what he did is he he went and he got this person's bag and moved it here, and then he's got this woman's bag and moved it there, and he's moving stuff around all night long due to habit. And then they all woke up and they saw their stuff everywhere, different places. Yeah. So then they said, what's going on? What everybody's asking, hey, what? So then the man, he said, okay, I have to admit, I'm sorry, I have a habit of stealing. So last night I didn't want to steal any of your stuff, so I was just moving it around, So you could say he was sincere, and that he didn't want to do it, but he was, doing what he could to avoid it. That's called, sincerity, trying to avoid. Whereas Bhajanarayan Swami likes to quote Chanakya Pandit's good quote that you should stall doing an inauspicious thing, a bad thing. You should put it off. Why? Is because circumstances may change and you may not have to do it. But a good thing you should do immediately. Yeah, because circumstances may change also. Miss the opportunity. So good things should be done immediately because circumstances may change, miss the opportunity, and stall doing a bad thing because circumstances may change, you may not have to do it. So the goal is to become surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means to become surrendered unto bona fide spiritual master representative. Diksha Gurus, Siksha Gurus, become surrendered to them. And which is actually a very big problem, because it's not a problem, it's a good thing to do, but it's a problem means people have a hard time doing it. It's not that people just have a hard time surrendering to God, because everybody will have a hard time surrendering to God. I want to do things my way. But they have a hard time surrendering to the representative of God. Just like Prabhupada, when he was in San Francisco, there was one disciple, and he didn't like this idea that you had to go through a spiritual master or guru to connect with God. A lot of people don't like this. There's a whole Christian denomination based on this, that you don't need a guru. You could just go directly to God. So he was like that. So one day, Prabhupada was there with all of his disciples, and the man, he was crying. He came practically crawling in the room, as described in the Lilamrita, crying, and then he puts his head on Prabhupada's lap, and Prabhupada's, caressing his, head, and he's saying, "What's wrong, my boy? Why are you crying?" And he says, "I want to go to God directly. I don't want to go through anyone." And then he just stood up and he just walked out, and of course all the devotees were seeing this. Oh, what's going on? And he left. So whether it's so gross like that, that's a very gross example. Clear, gross example. They don't want it, but subtly, it also may be there. Oh, I don't want to surrender to the representative of God, and that comes in the form of not being able to take guidance or not wanting guidance. And that's one of the main problems for people. As Prabhupada states here in the next purport, everyone thinks that his intelligence is perfect. But that's not Vaishnava philosophy. Vaishnava philosophy is that I need help, I need guidance, I need direction in my life. And therefore I have a spiritual master, and therefore I have a Diksha Guru, therefore I have Shiksha Guru, therefore I have devotees to help guide me in what to do and what not to do. Not that my intelligence is perfect. That's like Himaniak, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, who else? Kamsa. They thought they were perfect. And as it says in the Gita, right? Ishvaraham aham bhogi, siddhaham balavam sukhi. I am perfect, powerful, happy. Perfect means what I'm doing in my life is perfect based on my intelligence. So yeah, that's not Vaishnava philosophy. But rather, Vaishnava philosophy takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead via the spiritual master. And Prabhupada makes a point in the purport that in a purport in the Bhagavatam, I have to find where it is exactly, but I did read it, that the spiritual master has unlimited intelligence to guide the disciple. And still, people don't want to take guidance from the spiritual master. So just as the momentum going in the wrong direction is very difficult to change, similarly, if we develop momentum in the right direction, it's very difficult to change, to go back. That's the good thing. Like, I'm thinking about Nirantara Prabhu, which his name means non-stop, right? Isn't it? To not stop. And it means not stop in bhakti, not stop in devotional service. And yeah, he's so enthusiastic. I mean, he's reading Krishna book all the time, really absorbing himself, giving so many classes here or there. He's a very enthusiastic person. He likes, he's attached to engage in the process of devotional service, Nirantara, non-stop. And for him to change that momentum, if you were to tell him, hey, Nirantara Prabhu, today we're taking away Krishna book from you, no reading today. Or, you can't give any classes or something. That'd be difficult, practically impossible for him to stop, because he's attached. Yeah, like taking the pizza away from obese person, or taking it's the same. Not same, but principle. And he has really accepted that wish of Prabhupada. He really tried to act on it throughout his life. Like he was there. There's a big in Atlanta. There's a big Radha Damodar party, which since Radha Damodar days we haven't seen such party, but just packed, temple packed full of brahmacharis and sasas. They haven't been men, but packed. They're book distributors, Harinam, going all over the country. Srila Prabhupada was there in Atlanta. And then Nirantara Prabhu raised his hand. He asked a question to Prabhupada, which is a good example, because about that, take a good opportunity when it comes, where the circumstances may change. You may have a burning desire to ask a devotee. If you don't ask, it may change. The devotee leaves the world or something. So he asked the question, Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? Now, of course, in different circumstances, Prabhupada would say different things. And the whole room was expecting Prabhupada to say the same thing. And you know what that was? Yeah, book distribution. And that's, they wanted some fuel, right? So then Prabhupada, he said, what pleases me the most is if you love Krishna. That's what pleases me the most. That's what he told Nirantara Prabhu. So, but it's not that, obviously, Prabhupada was, in terms of book distribution, Prabhupada was so, as we heard the other day, all the scores coming in throughout America, Prabhupada was rolling in his bed in ecstasy in Los Angeles reading. Whereas, because Hari Kesh Swami at the time was so focused and just absorbed and obsessed with book distribution, printing and distributing, Prabhupada wrote that, right? You're the most important grandson of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, but yeah, in this case, Prabhupada says, if you love Krishna. So yeah, you could say Nirantara Prabhu, he has, throughout his life, tried to act on that. And as a result, he's very attached, to Krishna Katha, Krishna consciousness. So it's very difficult to, the momentum. So we should try to develop momentum, going towards love for Krishna. And in this way, it'll be very difficult for people to stop us. Just like I'm thinking about Manidhar Prabhu, a book distributor. One time he was sick. And devotees were telling him, you're not going out, you can't go out on book distribution, you're sick, you have to stay inside. So they pretty much locked him in the room, because he really wanted to go out. It was like, the devotees locking up, not exactly, but, devotees locking up Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Gambhira, you can't go out. So he locked up Manu, you can't go out on book distribution. So then, in this particular case, he just somehow scaled the wall, or got up on the wall, climbed out the window, and, went out. So he was attached, to book distribution. So we should become attached to our service, we should become attached to Krishna consciousness, we should become attached to, devotees and Krishna. And in this way, we won't give up. And no one can convince us to give it up. Just like Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, when he was being threatened by the Muslim ruler, he said, "Stop chanting Hare Krishna, or in essence, I'll kill you." And then Haridas Thakur said, "You could cut my body into millions of pieces, and I still won't stop chanting Hare Krishna." So that's a great platform to try to be on. So does anybody have any questions or comments?
Just a quick comment, then a question. As far as Manidhar, you were telling me, he also one time, because he was German, and in Germany there's a lot of parks, and people are hanging out in the parks. So he sat on a bench next to a guy who was reading the newspaper, and he took out a cigarette lighter, he was using for offering his incense. The guy's sitting there, Manidhar sits down, and the guy keeps reading his newspaper, and he lit the newspaper on fire. The guy was, oh my God. He says, "I could not stand to see you in such anxiety reading that Prajalpa. Take this." He used to go out on the Autobahn and stop cars going 70, 80, 100 miles an hour, flag them down on the German freeway. Stop them. They were like shocked. So take this. So, like you say, he was a very powerful person. So I don't advocate. That's it.
We have to check with Vijay Prabhu, the book minister.
Yeah, that's like
authorized.
Imitating Lord Nityananda or something. So don't do either one. Don't do either. Very good. Okay, confirmed. But maybe the answer is just time. But how do we develop that momentum? Because we start and then we stop. Like if you're riding a bike uphill, you may think, "I'm getting off and walking."
Yeah.
So how do we develop that momentum?
Yeah. Thinking you're riding a bike uphill, and, all right, I'm going to get off and walk, and you start walking, you're like, "Hey, well, there's a nice ice cream shop. I'm going to go to ice cream." Well, the first thing I thought of in my mind was that I heard this little story that there was once a man who was really sick, and he couldn't eat anything, and anything he eat, he would vomit. So then, everybody's worried. They didn't know what to do. I heard this from Tamal Krishna Goswami lecture. They didn't know what to do. Yeah. They didn't know what to do with this man. He was very sick. And so then they went to the Ayurvedic doctor, and the Ayurvedic doctor said, "You should have a little ghee each day. Have a little ghee, like a spoonful of ghee each day." And then the man, they were taking care of him. They said, "Yeah, but if he's just gonna vomit, what's the point? What's the point of having that ghee every day if he's just going to vomit it?" And he said, "Okay, that may be true that he may vomit that ghee a little, but there will be some that stays, and that will nourish the body, even a little bit. If a little bit sticks, it will nourish the body." So he did it. Most of it was not having an impact, but some of it was sticking, and then over time he became better. So you could say, like, what's that saying? Like 90% is just, showing up or something like that. So, doing devotional service, engaging in Krishna consciousness, following the regulations and all that. So that's there to engage in it. And yeah, we may not be, shooting out of the roof. The first few days means an ecstasy or, elevating or something, up in the clouds. But gradually, the idea is that, more and more sticks. We become more and more nourished. And certain days, like Janmashtami and Ekadashi, and you don't have to just wait for that day either. Any day, every day, we could try to push ourselves in devotional service. And yeah, the more we try to extend ourselves, the more we'll get that mercy and that nourishment. It's like if somebody's wondering, they're hungry, or they feel, specifically I was thinking earlier, if they feel malnourished. I feel really malnourished. I feel dehydrated, I feel like I'm not getting enough vitamins, and then, the doctor says, oh, what's your diet? Oh, well, I don't know, I've been having a bag of Cheetos every day with, Coca-Cola, and not drinking any water, and, well, yeah, you're going to feel dehydrated, you're going to feel malnourished. So, but yeah, if we just subject ourselves to the devotional process, and yeah, gradually we'll feel more and more nourished. Or is that verse, the famous verse in the 11th canto? What, is it the 11th canto? Yeah. Do you think you could say that? Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, no, Yogendra's bhakti pareshana babo virakti anyata chaisha tuka eka kala pakodhyamanas yatashantaksu tushti pushti chudapayo anugasam. For the surrendered devotees who are really practicing advanced devotees, they experience three things simultaneously: bhakti, paraishana bhava, and virakti anyata cha. Bhakti is, the pleasure of serving Krishna, the realization of God in their lives, and detachment from everything else. Just as when one sits down to a wonderful feast on Nrsimha Chaturdasi at the end of the day, and you start taking in the tushti, the pleasure of all of the wonderful preparations is pleasure. Pushti, your body is nourished, and you become detached, gradually become detached from hunger itself, from the eating.
Yeah. Does anybody have any other in relation to that?
How to get that momentum, another synonym would how to become strong or stronger. The analogies of the bundle of sticks, that's often given. You can, yeah, that's what, sometimes some devotees will be in the temple or they'll be, in the movement, and they're actually all alone because they're not really taking advantage of the asset of devotee association, Krishna conscious devotee association. And even better, associating with more advanced devotees. That's ideal.
Yeah.
That's one quote is that's 90% of the formula of making advancement is associating with devotees.
But in order to associate with advanced devotees, more advanced devotees, means one has to be in a bit of a humble mood, right? But the Vaishnava, Vaishnava thinking, oh, well, he's my guru, and then the other person's thinking he's my guru. Like, I was just thinking about Tamal Krishna Goswami talking to my guru one time, and he was saying how he accepted my spiritual master as his Shiksha guru. And he named other persons too. And then my spiritual master was saying how he accepted him as his guru. Both could learn from each other. So... But yeah, you also mentioned time. I was thinking, I heard from, I think it was Borijan Prabhu. He said that time, it takes time in two ways. Time means like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years time span, right? And then he said time also means putting time into it every day. Just like, putting time into it every day. So that's how he explained it, which I thought was good, nice. Just like putting money in a piggy bank or something, or bank account, whatever. You put a little bit, like savings. People start saving when their child's 1 year old, or baby, 6 months or something. Yeah, for college they put $20 in every week or whatever, some amount every month, and over time, 20, 25 years. I mean, a lot of money could be there for their college. So, yeah. All right. Gunteraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.